anything going for me except for speed upgrading. Other than that, I have a couple spine crawlers which will become useless pretty quickly here. I have a decent amount of drones, but obviously I'm not in a great position, especially when you count in the mule. I mean, he can skip a lot of miners, and the mule is still going to give him a sick good economy. So, yeah, I do feel pretty far behind at this point.
Very true. And I see as soon as you took out that bunker, you went straight to lair tech. Are your thoughts to go mutas, hydras, infestors? What are your thoughts?
Well, from here, it's really hard. I want to scout him and kind of figure out what's going on and counter it, because what I'm going to have to do is hope that he goes for another ridiculous all-in instead of an expansion, and then just counter it really hard, and I should be pretty much caught up. But, I mean, as we see down there, he's making a command center. This is really a great way to transition out of this that he's done. And, yeah, so I don't really have a great follow-through against an expansion after the way this build has gone so far.
Fair enough. At this point, like, I notice he's got an SCV here, just waiting to make sure you're not expanding. I don't think you've seen that SCV or not, but at this point, do you feel comfortable expanding, or do you need to get some kind of defense or economy going?
Oh, I can definitely expand, but I think it's more worth my while to pump drones for a little bit. My drone count was really low, and there's really no reason to spend, that 350 minerals on a new hatchery when my main isn't even close to saturated. So I kind of just decide to, make a bunch of drones and, get some tech up, and because that's going to help my economy quicker than making an expansion right now.
Absolutely. So yeah, always make sure your main base is saturated in a position like this before going ahead and taking another expansion is, I think, the main point of that. Now you are getting a spire up. It's about 40% completed, and he's now taking this SCV that he had guarding your expansion, and he's going to be scouting here. Now, really important, you don't have any scouting information of him really yet, besides the fact that he's getting that command center up. Now that he's scouted you, and he knows this spire is coming, what are your thoughts? You've obviously seen he knows you are going spire. What are your thoughts?
Well, I have a little bit of information, as you said. I have my Overlord kind of poking in the side. The Lings poke up the ramp. Basically, I think what I would normally do from this exact moment is probably make a few mutas still, even though they're scouted, because this kind of forces him into some anti-air stuff. He's not going to be quite as mobile. He's going to have to build some missile turrets. He's going to have to build some Marines, which, I obviously rather fight against Marines than Marauders. You can take them out quite easily with Banes or Muta, well, not Mutas, but, you want to force the turrets and whatnot. So I think it's pretty good to make some mutas, just do what you can. They keep you scouting and stuff like that. And just, I want to build up my economy and basically just crush an attack. That's basically my goal when I'm behind in a spot like this, is to completely crush an attack of my opponent so that I can catch back up. Because if they play really safe standard macro, when you're behind economically like I was early in the game, it's super, super hard to come back from.
Absolutely, yeah. And now you are testing his base here with these 5 mutas, but as you can see, he's also got a reactor on his starport now, pumping out 2 Vikings. Mutas, of course, destroy Vikings in numbers, but if the Vikings outnumber you, then you're really in trouble. What are you thinking here now that he's got Marines, Vikings, and turrets, and now you've clearly have to transition out of Mutalisks into something else?
This particular army isn't super scary for me right this second. I know that I'm not going to get attacked right now, so I guess that's the upside to it. I realize that my mutas are not going to be very useful right now. I'll probably just use them mostly for scouting for the rest of the game, as well as maybe, stopping a little bit of light harass, supporting queens and stopping my overlords from dying, that type of thing. But right now, what I really want to do is get as good an economy off 2 base as possible, because this guy, he still hasn't landed his command center. He's a little bit wary because he too hasn't been scouting a whole great deal. And so that's kind of my thought process: get a really good economy up and try to get back into the game that way.
Right. And now looking at it this way, if we look at the income tab, you're pretty even with him. You're a few harvesters behind now, but a few moments ago you weren't. You're on pretty much equal ground now, and it looks like you are going for a Roach Warren and a Baneling Nest with 2 Evo chambers. I'm going to go ahead and pause it right here because I've got a few questions I want to cover. So I
All right.
pause it at 12:10. Now,
All right.
the first question I want to cover is, when he scouted that spire, do you think it would have been a viable option to cancel the spire and switch to, say, a speedling, baneling, infestor army?
Well, I kind of want to stand by making the mutas. They make me really mobile. I get to scout. I did force, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He actually overmade missile turrets. He made 6 missile turrets. It kind of forced him into Viking tech. I don't like to play against Viking tech here, but it's the least dangerous thing he can do to me right now because he didn't really open with it fast. So I made him go into that as well as a bunch of Marines, and that's actually kind of why I'm switching over into a Baneling Roach play, because he's already made a lot of Marines. He's put a lot of money into that. And Roach Baneling, you know, that's a pretty good counter to a pretty bionic heavy army.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. The second thing I wanted to ask is Hydras on this map. I've heard Day 9 and the Little One talk about this on their cast, and I think I have to agree with it, but are Hydras pretty much useless on the map just because of the distance and how slow they are?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually one of the reasons I feel that this is a pretty good Terran map. I mean, you have a unit like Vikings. How is Zerg supposed to stop that exactly with, you know, Hydras are the best counter to those. I guess you have to go, you know, like Infestor. It's the only thing I can really think of other than, you know, Corruptors or something. But yeah, Hydras are pretty worthless here. I mean, when you go Hydras, your game is going to be really, really weird. You're going to have to make sure, obviously, first of all, that everywhere is creeped. But second of all, you're probably going to have to do something like a drop, because Hydras are just too slow to make it across this map, even with creep everywhere, which you're obviously not going to have. So the Hydra unit isn't really a good choice at any point in time. Sometimes you do end up having to make them for various reasons, but as you see, I'm trying to stay away